Hi, everyone. A couple of weeks ago, I gave a talk on the impact of social media and device usage on child development. There were a ton of great questions during the Q&A, but two in particular stood out to me, mostly because I didn't have enough time to fully address them, and they were really important questions. So I thought I'd create a video to answer a couple of these questions for you because I think they are on the minds of a lot of parents. The first was, how long should I allow my child to use their device? And the second was, is there a correlation between increased device usage and increases in ADHD? Now, you don't have to look too far for the answers. You can reflect on your own attention span and how you respond to being on a device. But I want to make these answers more specific and actionable. So let's tackle the first one, and I'll address the second question in a separate post. The average attention span varies by task and by age, but generally speaking, for kids 6 to 7 years old, it's about 16 minutes. For kids 8 to 9 years old, it's around 20 to 24 minutes. By the time a child hits 11, it's roughly 25 minutes. And for teens and adults over 13, it's 30 to 45 minutes. Now, why is this important to think about? Well, what happens when you've been listening to a talk or having a conversation for more than, say, 35 or 40 minutes? Your mind begins to wander, and if the conversation continues, you essentially hear it as background noise without fully focusing on it. Now imagine you're 11 and you're playing a video game. For the first 20 minutes, you're really engaged. You're making the right moves, picking the right plays, and getting into the flow of the game. This is the period of active attention. But after 30 or 35 minutes, that active attention begins to fade, and a child, depending on their age, begins to operate on autopilot. There may still be some creativity or intentionality, but the activity becomes largely mindless beyond this point. They stop fully processing and retaining information for future use, and instead, they start passively absorbing content without conscious awareness. Some parents think it's okay for kids to keep playing as long as it's passive, but here's why that can be a problem. When kids passively absorb content, especially in games, they take in ideas and actions unconsciously without fully processing them. Unlike a classroom where passive listening happens in a learning context, passive screen use exposes them to content that may not be ideal. Let's take two popular video games as examples, Fortnite and Roblox. So, in Fortnite, if you're not familiar with the game, players gather weapons, ammunition, and materials to build and fight in combat. Its bright and cartoonish feel makes it seem harmless, but the game revolves around violence, combat, and elimination. When kids play this beyond their active attention span, they may start soaking up these themes without realizing it. And is this really the kind of content you want your child to passively consume? Probably not. Ideally, you want them to be engaged enough to be creative and make choices, like deciding on materials in Minecraft or solving puzzles in Legends of Zelda. And most importantly, you want them to stay aware of the fact that it's just a game. When they're too passively engaged, they may lose that awareness and forget to stay alert to aspects of the game that might make them uncomfortable or even unsafe. Then there's Roblox. I'll admit, I like Roblox. During the pandemic, I played it with some younger therapy patients because it seemed harmless and helped us connect. But as I spent more time in the game, I noticed how easily the vibrant colors, the in game currency, and endless worlds pulled me in. There were moments I almost forgot I was in a session. And that's exactly the issue with games like Roblox and even social media. After about 30 minutes, kids, and obviously even adults, stop being fully present. They shift from actively engaging to just passing time, consuming content without noticing cues that might tell them to stop or shift focus. This is even more concerning in games like Roblox, where user generated content can lead kids into unmonitored and potentially unsafe areas as they explore deeper. Neuroimaging studies back this up. They show that extended use of digital devices, especially during passive activities like gaming or scrolling, causes decreased activity in the prefrontal cortex, which is the area responsible for decision making and impulse control. When this part of the brain becomes less active, kids lose their ability to self regulate, making it harder for them to stop or shift focus after a long session. This explains why parents often struggle to get their child to stop playing. The child isn't critically engaging anymore, they're simply reacting, which makes it difficult for kids to recognize when it's time to take a break or move on to something else. Given this, I recommend limiting your child's device usage to at most 30 minutes at a time. Rather than framing it as taking a break from the game, try to naturally shift their focus to something else. For example, you could say, "It's really nice outside. Let's go for a walk." Or, "I'm making your favorite dinner and could use your help to get it ready sooner." Another idea is to set a timer, not for how long they can play, but for when the next activity is coming up. This way, the device isn't the primary focus, which can help reduce their resistance. Try to keep gaming or device time public by setting it up in a shared space where they can't close the door. Avoid placing devices in their bedroom or study area. Instead, designate a specific device area in the house with other spaces reserved for sleeping, reading, or family activities. As a parent, this is a place to set clear boundaries. The stakes are too high if you don't. Will your child get upset if you end their game after 30 minutes? Maybe. Could it disrupt your day or your household or your peace? Quite possibly. But in the long run, is it worth it? Absolutely. And setting boundaries doesn't have to be forceful or punitive. In fact, you can help your child establish these boundaries for themselves. Kids, like all of us, are naturally drawn to pleasurable activities. If they can see the negative side of a habit, they're often less likely to seek it out. Conversely, when they realize the rewarding aspects of an activity, they're more inclined to choose it. So now that you're aware of this information, start talking with your child in ways that help them become more mindful of their choices. For instance, you might say, "I know it's important for you to stay focused and alert. This game might not be helping you with that." Frame the conversation around what your child values, whether it's being more present, creative, or simply feeling good afterward. Encourage them to reflect. Are they tired, restless, or bored after playing? Do they feel accomplished or like they're just passing time? Highlight the positive alternatives, like when you're doing other activities like playing outside, drawing, or helping with a project, you're in control of what you're doing. You get to choose, and that helps you stay sharp and feel really good about yourself. By guiding them to recognize these good feelings, you're helping them make conscious decisions about screen time. And in the end, isn't that what we all want? To raise resilient, confident, and self directed kids. I hope you found this post helpful. And if you did, follow us at Pathformers. And if you'd like more content like this, enroll in one of our courses at pathformers.com. Until next time, I am Dr. Maya Bristow Klein, and I'll see you again soon.